Hi and welcome to this video. In this video we are going to create an app that has a simple notification and we're going to test it using Firebase messaging platform. First, let's go through some of the facts and the structure of notification and any necessary configuration that you may need to apply. In this page we can see that we need to add some dependencies, and then for Android integration, if you are using Flutter version 1.12 and above, you don't need to add any integration steps. But if you are using the version less than 1.12, you need to add some changes to your code. And also for Apple integration and iOS and web, there are some instructions. But for iOS, you need to have a real device to test your notification. So for this video, we are going to focus on the Android. But it's mostly the same other than some changes that you need to make to some parts of the iOS application. Next, we can see that there are common use cases for using messages. One is the obvious notification that you can send to user. The other one is syncing message data silently on the device. For example, on the background, you can send data to your application. For example, updating shared preferences, and add the data to your application in background. And also updating apps UI. You can do this in the background by sending notification and changing the user interface based on the requirements. For this video, we are going to focus on simple notification. And then there are some states based on your application. We have three states. One is foreground, when the application is open and it is in use by user. If you receive the notification, in that case, you have to do some coding. And if it is in the background, which means that the application is open, but it is in the background when the user has pressed the home button and the user switches to another application, but your application is still open in the background. That is the background state. And then we have terminated state, when the device is locked or the application is not running and the user terminates the app by swiping it away. Or for example, force stop is done by user. So these are three states, and we need to tell the application and Flutter what to do with notification in each state. And also we need to have some permission. If it is on iOS or web, you have to ask for permission. For example, this code asks for a couple of permissions from user in iOS. But if you are on the Android, you don't need to ask for permission, and the permission is always authorized. So based on the type of notification that we saw earlier and based on the state of your application, we can see that in the notification case, in foreground, the state, the handling is going to be on message, and on background is going to be on background message, and same for terminated, and same thing for data and notification and data. And with that said, let's go to the Android Studio. I just created a new Flutter application, and first thing we need to do is to go to the Firebase and make some preparations. You need to create a new project in Firebase, and then you need to add your application. You select Android and you specify the package name, which you can get from Android app source, and then main, and then Android manifest. At the top you have the package name. This is the package name. I copy the package name and I paste it here in the Firebase. And then we need to add SHA1. To add SHA1, you can run commands to get your SHA1, but there is a way to get SHA1 inside the Android Studio. You right click on Android and you go to Flutter and you select Open Android module in Android Studio. I select new window and I'm going to wait until the process is finished. And I'm going to open the Gradle tab, and inside Android I go to App, I go to Tasks, Android, and Signing Report. I double click on the signing report and here I can see my SHA1. Then I'm going to copy the SHA1 and I'm going to paste it in the Firebase. And I click in Register App. I have a full video on SHA1. You can watch the video if you need more assistance. Then I need to download the JSON file. I save it in desktop and then I'm going to copy the JSON file and then add it to the app folder in the Android. I right click on the app and I click paste. And in the Firebase I click next, and here you need to make some modifications in the Gradle file. Inside the Gradle file you have app level Gradle file and you have project level Gradle file. And inside the project level we are going to add this line in the dependencies, and in the app level Gradle file we are going to add this line and also this line in the dependencies. If there is no dependencies, I'm going to make this section by copying the whole section in the Firebase and adding it to Gradle file. And you can see the link here that there are other Firebase products that you may need to add dependency for them if you are going to use them. So we are going to this page and we can see that from the services we need to use cloud messaging. So we get this cloud messaging dependency and the latest version, and we are going to add it here. Now we click next and we click continue to console. And then in the settings you need to make sure that support email is filled. It is not empty. Let's go back to our project, and first we need to add some dependencies. So we open pubspec.yaml file, and then here we are going to add dependencies for Firebase messaging and Firebase core. An easy way to add dependencies is to go to terminal and type Flutter pub add and the name of the plugin that we need to add. So we are going to write Flutter pub add Firebase underline core. This is going to get the latest version and add it to pubspec.yaml automatically. And then we are going to need Firebase messaging as well. And to show the notification on top of your application when it's open, we need to add overlay support. Next, we are going to build our UI, user interface. I'm going to go to the main file, main.dart, and build the user interface. I removed the debug banner and I assigned false to the variable, and then inside our application I created app bar. In the app bar I changed the color for the status bar where the clock is in the Android status bar to white to make it same as the application, and then I removed the app bar by assigning the transparent color to it and the elevation equals to 0. And then inside the body I have a column, and in the column I have the notification body and notification title. And basically I say that if the notification is not null, which means that we have a notification, then show the title and body. Otherwise, if there is no notification, show a container, which means an empty place on our application. You can see that we have this notification info underlined as an error because we haven't defined this one. As we mentioned before, notification can have the notification title and body and also the data. For notification title and body, we can create a class. So one variable can have two variables inside it if you are not familiar with the class. So we go to the lib and right click, new file. We call this push notification .dart, and inside this file we are going to create a class push notification, and then we assign the constructor, which means that when we have a push notification object, what is going to be included in this object. We can say this dot title and this dot body, and then we are going to specify the type, string title and string body. Now we go back to our main.dart, and at the top we are going to import the push notification file, and also we are going to import the Firebase messaging, and we need to create the push notification object or the notification info variable. So here, this is the counter from the sample application from Flutter, and we also don't need this function. And here we are going to define push notification, and then we are going to define notification info. And we are going to need a variable for Firebase messaging. So we are going to define Firebase messaging, a variable named messaging equals to Firebase messaging dot instance. Now let's run this application in the emulator and see how it looks. You can see that we get an error. The error says that no Firebase app has been created. Call firebase.initializeApp. When you are using Firebase services in your application, you need to initialize the Firebase app in your code. And we are using it here. We are defining Firebase messaging object. So we need to initialize it first. We can go to the top level main function and we can call await Firebase.initialize app. And we need to import Firebase core. Now let's run it again. And this is the app. As you can see, because the notification info is null, there is no notification at the moment. We have a container, so it is empty. We can add the text to container, so there is no notification. So now, after building the UI, we can create a function that handles the notification. So we are going to create a function after build. Okay, in this function, we first ask for permission if it is not granted. We create notification settings variable and then we request permissions. Mostly these permissions are for iOS, but we are going to make sure that we have all the permissions that we need. And we check if the permissions have been authorized, then we print a message. And then remember we discussed that we have different states in notification, which are foreground, in which the application is open and user is using your application, and the event is on message in that case. So we say Firebase messaging dot on message dot listen. It's going to listen for any incoming notification, and we define a message and we define push notification that we created based on the class in the other file, and we define the notification variable and we assign the title and the body inside this message to our notification variable. And then we print the title and we set state, because at this moment the notification is received in the application, and since we show the notification on the screen in this app, we need to change and refresh the app. To refresh the app, we are going to call set state and we are going to assign the notification to notification info that we created before. And if it is not empty, we show a notification using the overlay support plugin that we installed earlier. So we need to import the overlay support, and this function gets the title of notification and then the body, and we can assign the color and how long it stays on screen. And also to show this notification, you need to wrap the material app in overlay support. So I click on material app and I go to this light bulb and I select wrap with widget and I create overlay support widget. And then we just created this function, but we need to call this function somewhere to trigger it and to run it. So we need to go to init state. We need to create the init state function, and inside init state we are going to call our function. Now let's run this again. You can see that when the application started, it says permission granted. That means that the init state was executed and it called this function, and in the function it checks for permissions. Now the permissions are granted, it prints this message, and then it is now listening for any incoming notification. To test this, let's go to the Firebase and we go to Cloud Messaging and we click on send your first message. We specify the title and the text, which means the body of the notification, and we click next and we select our application, next, and the scheduling is now. And then here it is optional to add data, because as we discussed before, notifications also carry data. This is going to be another video. And then we click preview and then we click publish. We saw the notification alert at the top, and this shows the notification, and here in the terminal we can see the title hi, and here we can see the title and body. So it didn't print the title and body. Let's see. Okay, this one needs to be inside the curly braces. Now let's try again. We can duplicate the notification. Next, 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 review and publish. And this is the notification alert. And this is the title and this is the body of the notification. Now this is the situation when the application is open and the user is interacting with the application. Now we are going to implement the situation where the application is closed in the background or terminated. For that case, we need to have a function at the top level. That means before the main function, we need to have another function, which is type future. And then inside our function that we created before, register notification, we need to have one line to refer to that function. This is going to detect the notification when the app is closed. But when you click on the notification and the app opens, you need to have code to tell the application what to do. We are going to have another function. In this function, we first initialize the Firebase and then we define a remote message and we get the initial message, and then if it is not empty, we are going to assign it to notification which is of type push notification. And then we call the set state to refresh our app with the content of notification. Because when the app starts, we need to initialize it first. So that's why we need to add this line. And then to call this function, we go to init state and we call that function. Okay, we run this app and then let's send notification and let's close the app. And you can see that we get the notification. And as you can see, we get the notification. And if we click on the notification, we go to the app and the content of the notification is displayed. And if you want to run this app on the real device, for Android, you need to go to Android and then the app and Gradle. And inside this Gradle file, inside default config, you need to add multi-dex enabled true. And then inside the source main, you open Android manifest.xml and you need to add an intent. You can see one is already here, intent filter. After this, you need to add another intent filter for notification. And for iOS, as I mentioned before, you must have Android developer account, and also it doesn't work on the emulator and you need to have a real device that runs iOS. That's it for this video. I hope this was helpful. Please subscribe to be notified about the future videos. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.